Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of the Girl Get Visible podcast. This is our first interview of 2024, so I am super excited to be doing this interview and have on one of my good friends, my accountability partner, one of my every day, we talk about something, mostly business, but a lot of things. Michele Heyward of Positive Hire. She's also the founder of PH Balance, and I'm going to let her go into details about what she does and what it does and all the other good things. And today we're going to talk about something that I've seen a lot of people talking about lately, but Michele has achieved more than once, right? And I know just because I've done LinkedIn training with her that she can help us to achieve it too and learn more about it. And so what we're talking about is the LinkedIn Top Voices feature that you may have seen people establishing authority. You know, we always talk about getting out there, getting found, and getting visible. We talk about being thought leaders in our space. And now LinkedIn has built in some features to not only help you to establish that authority and show that authority, but now they actually have a little badge on your LinkedIn profile. And I'm going to, of course, make sure I link to Michele, but I'm going to link it to her profile too, so you guys can see that little badge. And so we're here to talk about that and all of the other great things that Michele has to share with us. I'm super excited to have her on today, sharing all the things. So Michele, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell us how you got started in LinkedIn.
Hi, everybody. It is great to be here. It's great to have a great intro because you get in your feelings, you get upbeat. But at Positive Hire, we're early stage tech startup. Our mission is to connect Black, Latina, and Indigenous women who are experienced scientists, engineers, and technology professionals to management roles. And we do this in two ways. So if you don't know, I'm gonna tell y'all a secret for some of you. Somebody on this podcast rather, I used to have a career in IT. And what we do is build community with women in science, tech, engineering, data, math. And we also help employers on the other side with being able to retain women like her. But my background is civil engineering, so women like us. And we do that through our software called PH Balance. And it's an internal talent marketplace to really help employers remove bias as they advance their employees throughout their organization and give them new opportunities. So that in a nutshell is what we do here at Positive Hire. So we have the community, and then we have the software, and then we do some services, B2B services, which is why I utilize LinkedIn so much. But I'm not a new LinkedIn user. I started using LinkedIn back in 2008. So if you have been around in the workplace, I don't know, since 2006, 2000, even before then, you may recall what 2008 was like. And LinkedIn was really a lifeline for a lot of us. I stayed employed, thankfully, during that time period. But it was a great time to be out there connecting with others, especially as they were losing their jobs, looking for new opportunities. And it was very much a difficult job market for the next year or year and a half.
So I just want to cut in really quick because I know some of my audience may not have been doing what we were doing and working at in 2008. Some folks might have been in high school. I'm here for y'all. I get it, right? So can we just remind everyone what happened in 2008?
So we had a housing crisis wherein we had subprime lending that essentially crashed our financial markets. That's the way I say it. Other people, technical people may say it a little bit different. People were laid off, not just in mortgages and banking and finance and real estate, but across construction. You were looking at soft technology companies. It that crash literally impacted every industry in the US, doing hiring freezes and layoffs. And so as we stand right now in 2024, I know people in the architecture, engineering, construction industry, they're hiring. Like they can't find enough people. But if we go to tech, we see Google's doing a lot of layoff, Microsoft, and even small tech startups doing layoffs. And I'm seeing something different in other industries. So 2008, if you literally were fighting to get a sales associate job in Sears because people couldn't get a job in other places where they had built a career or had a degree. So it was very difficult to find work.
Thank you for that. And I'm glad you mentioned how it rippled through all of the industries, because if you weren't someone who was, in your career and working at the time, you may only hear about the historical context and what it did to housing and not realize that it really impacted all of us, not just where we lived, but also where we worked, our ability to work. And unfortunately, it looks like we're getting close to that again. But we're not going to go there in this particular interview. We might need to bring you back for that. But LinkedIn, as you said, was a really big catalyst for helping people through those transitions and through that, kind of bump in the career road, and has since grown into a major platform, not just for business, like people who are not business, but like for people who are in corporate and working at various companies. But now it's actually a lot used by a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of smaller companies, a lot of startups like our startups. So it's now really expanded its base and expanded the opportunities that we have. One thing you didn't mention that I do want to mention for you, or want you to mention, is how many followers or connections do you have on LinkedIn? Give us a few numbers to be like, oh, this is good, because I
So
know it.
followers, I have over 15,000. So you can have connections and followers mixed together. So it's over 15,000. I have over 14,000 first level connections on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has changed a lot. And the growth as far as LinkedIn being used for businesses literally started because of 2008. There were people utilizing it before the crash. But because people couldn't get jobs, you started a business. You started looking, companies may not hire you for to be an employee, but they may need a service, right? And so you would hustle, and people were creating businesses in order to make a living. So 2008 was another catalyst to making LinkedIn very viable to find business opportunities.
I love that. And when you said the numbers, because I don't think I have even 1,000 on LinkedIn right now. But yes, their numbers are very impressive. And so one of the things I mentioned that I've worked with Michelle on my LinkedIn, so you guys see me on there a little bit more. I'm not the best student, so it's not a reflection of her, but that little bit more y'all see is because she's encouraged me to do that. And to also, I really like the approach that you have to LinkedIn, because it's not just about being on there every day. Like every time I look at somebody who talked about LinkedIn or taught LinkedIn, they were like, oh, you have to post 3 times a day, go on these many times a day threads, go all. And I'm like, yo, this is another job. So LinkedIn's supposed to help you get a job and be a job too. I don't got time for that. And I see you shaking your head, so I'm gonna let you chime in on that.
So LinkedIn moves like grandparents compared to Twitter that moves like a toddler. For those of you who know what I'm talking, or a new pet, like a puppy that moves really quickly. LinkedIn is quite the opposite. You literally can post twice a week or twice a month, and then literally, or just engage on other people's posts 15 minutes a day, 2 to 3 times a week. You don't have to necessarily post consistently. What you do want to show, though, that you are on a platform some way or some form, so people know that, not just recruiters, but others who may want to connect with you because they love your career trajectory and want to talk to you, or they're interested in your business. You want to show you have some form of life on the platform other than just an account. And so twice a month is good. But if you can do once or twice a week, that's even better. And that's just could be just logging on to see if you've been invited to events, to see if somebody in your network has a promotion, and you going, hey, congratulations, Akila, on, or respond to Akila's video where she's sharing tips on SEO. And that's really all you have to do, is just show some form of life. If you can, when you are commenting though, if you can comment on posts in your area of expertise in your industry, and I know we're talking about women, we're like, I'm not an expert. You really are. And people are probably taking advantage of that because you keep saying you aren't. And so they aren't compensating you appropriately for it either. But go on there and start conversations and responding to people and asking questions in your niche, in your space, or niches, or things that interest you. And that is one great way to grow and be seen on LinkedIn. And you don't have to do it every day.
I love that, and like I said, I love your practical tips. That's the only thing that's keeping me on there, y'all. Keep me on by a thread. But that also segues right into what we were going to talk about today, specifically with LinkedIn, is that new or newer. I'm not on there enough to be like it's brand new, but the newer top voices. LinkedIn top voices feature. And I've seen like you can be a top voice in specific areas. So it's not just like a blanketed out feature. It's really like your top voice in LinkedIn, correct? What's
So
your top voice?
there are 2 things. There's LinkedIn Top Voices, which is over the entire platform, and then LinkedIn rolled out a new one, Community Top Voices. Previously, LinkedIn, what is now LinkedIn Top Voices, was LinkedIn Influencer Program. And so you had to be an influencer of some type in order to get this. And it started around 2016. I told you I've been on LinkedIn playing like, oh, look at Sir. What is the guy name that had like Virgin Records and the airline? He was an early LinkedIn influencer. And
Oh,
so
Richard Branson.
yeah,
Richard. That's his name. I know you're talking about.
if y'all know, but just follow me. So it was really famous people mostly, or they were a CEO of a Fortune 100 or Fortune 10 company. They were seen as influencers on LinkedIn, and they still are. And that's who usually would be shown or show up in the list of LinkedIn influencers. They changed that program a few years ago to Top Voices. And so I'm a Top Voices, very new, just got included into the program this year. What they started doing though, early last year, was putting out a feature, and I call it the Cora feature, where it's a specific question that you can go in your area of expertise or experience and respond to it. And people have been getting what is now called community top voices. And also, whatever, not just responding to those questions, but also what you're posting on your LinkedIn profile as far as content, video content, written posts, PDFs, graphics, things like that. And so don't just think, so if you want to be the SEO community top voices, somebody, I don't know who it could possibly be. I'm just saying there's an opportunity to do that. And that's literally just going on the LinkedIn once or twice a week, responding to one or two of those questions. And then you already post once or twice a week around content around SEO. And some of you like, that's all you have to do, top voices. Literally, LinkedIn, when they said, hey, you are now a top voice on LinkedIn, you have to post at least twice a month. That's what they told me in order to keep the title, right? And I was like, twice a month. And so for those of you overstressing it, if they're telling their top voice is only the minimum you have to post is twice a month, like, and you've never posted, just try it. The first and the 15th, the 5th and the 20th, just just post twice a month, and it can be repurposed content. So that is truly the two types of programs they have. And I did get some free stuff with it. I was able to get one of their paid programs. It's not Sales Navigator. I think it's business, one of their business programs, where I can search. Y'all don't see it. It's a back end deal, and I get that free, and that's $100 a month. So I made $600 in savings there. They'll reach out to me to help me with provide tips on my around my content to get more engagement. And for those of you like, oh my God, you must get thousands and millions of people on your content. Nope. That comment or drop an emoji or any type of engagement. I don't. I will literally on average have about 10 to 15 people engage with my content. And you're like, that's it? I will find out hopefully very soon what it was, what that formula looks like for me as to why they selected me. So for the LinkedIn Top Voices, editors at LinkedIn decide and vote on who will be named a top voice on LinkedIn. It is, and how they do the community top voices is a different methodology. And so they kind of share what that is, but you have to be like active on LinkedIn for 60 days after you earn it. But it really, they kind of give a way for community top voices. They give a framework on the things you can do. But for the top voices I have, they just say, hey, the editors decide. And we're like, well, what is that? What are they deciding on? So I don't even know what the formula is for them, especially as they changed it from an influencer program on LinkedIn.
There's two different opportunities, and I think most of the people, because I've been seeing, which is why I wanted to do this episode and do it fairly quickly. I was literally like, Michelle, we got to talk about this, and she's here, so thank you. But the one I think I've been seeing more are the community top voices, because they're the ones that are like by subject matter, which I like that a lot more than I've seen on Facebook. They have a similar thing where it's I'm a top contributor on Facebook this week, but it's so broad and so blanketed, it feels like vanity metrics. Something about this LinkedIn and saying you're a top voice in a specific area of expertise feels so much different. It also feels to me like it may be a bigger benefit to your, small founders, small agencies, solopreneurs. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see that this program, the big benefit for most of my audience, which would be going into some type of business space?
I do. I absolutely see the benefit for community top voices because you are solidifying your niche and your expertise. And I love it for women, especially Black women, Latina, because we often shy away. I don't know enough, but also we know how we get critiqued in the workplace, in our business, and also online. But this is saying, no, we see you, we're giving you this title. So I love it just in that somebody else is calling us knowledgeable, a top voice, and an expert in the space. Number two, how do you want to leverage that? Right. And so now that people can come to your profile and they'll see that you're a top voice in this area, and some people like, well, I don't want to just be known for X, Y, and Z because I do one, two, and three as well. That doesn't just stop people. Once they're like, well, I wonder if they can do one, two, and three, which you do. So it opens up that you're expert in this. And if some of the other things weave into SEO, such as podcasting, live streaming, writing a book, I don't know, other things that weave into SEO, they may now reach out to you just to see if you do these other things. One thing about I think top voices is for people that are familiar with LinkedIn's influencer program, they know what it is. And so they see it differently than community, or they see it in conjunction with community top voices. And so it just depends on how well you know LinkedIn, how you view badges, right, on platforms. One comment that somebody left was this congratulations to the extent you use so many of the features on LinkedIn, it only makes sense for you to
Mm.
get a voice. And what I mean by that, I do LinkedIn events. I do LinkedIn audio rooms. I've been a LinkedIn Liver since 2019 when you had to apply. Y'all didn't know that you had to apply to be able to live stream on LinkedIn. And so I use probably 70 to 80% of the features, free features on LinkedIn and a paid product. And so I think it's really important to understand. I think some of that also played into why I may have been selected as a top voice on LinkedIn because I use so many of the features on a consistent basis. So I'll pause there, but definitely the community voices one is a great one to have to solidify your expertise and your niche.
So I love that. And what I'm hearing is answer those questions. And for me, they just pop up, right? So the pop up is just, you may want to chime in on this question. When they say that, answer those questions. Create content or put out content that is relevant to what you want to be a top voice in. And your top voice is specifically in LinkedIn, so that they might have more influence of using those features, but it doesn't sound like it hurts to use those features either. So using those features. One of the other things, because again, although your top voice is in LinkedIn, I also wanted to, another reason why I really wanted to have you on is because unlike a lot of people who are pros in the space, like I use SEO, but I also teach SEO. So it's kind of a little bit meta, right? You use LinkedIn, but your core business, if you guys remember from the intro, is not necessarily about using LinkedIn at all. It's really about helping with, women in STEM in the workplace. So I'd love to talk about how that has helped you using LinkedIn literally as a tool and teaching it some too, but literally using it as a tool to help leverage it for the rest of your company, rest of your businesses. Let's talk about how that has helped you and impacted you. And maybe let's hint about this summit that we're going to be having.
Okay. So for those of us who are not good at SEO, so we're not getting a lot of traffic to our website. We got to go to where the people are. Because y'all, you ain't worked with or you did not execute on the stuff your SEO coach told you to do for your website. You go to LinkedIn. and you start dropping content and having conversations in that space. Literally got a cold call yesterday because somebody saw what I was doing on LinkedIn. They Googled me. They ended up finding my website. And their question was, well, do you only do content? Because that's all they saw me do on LinkedIn. So they didn't really even look my profile. They were just trying to additionally try to figure out what else I did. So utilizing LinkedIn helps me do position myself in the industry in how I want to be seen, even though people can see me differently. And so I do a lot of content on there to educate, to entertain, but also to attract people to the products and services we sell. And so when I say we're doing events, I will create an event on our LinkedIn company page and invite people, which is why I have 15,000 LinkedIn connections, because you can only invite your first level connections and you can only invite so many a week. And so, what it permits me to do, I literally invited the CEO of a public water utility, and the man came and looked at my profile. He probably couldn't remember who I was, but I literally invited him to a Women of Color in STEM event because I wanted to remind him who I was and what I did. If I just did posts, if I just did articles, right? An event gives me the opportunity to re-engage with people. So you want to be strategic in what you're using and how you want to re-engage. Then when I connect, but first when I connect with people, I send them a message like, hey, it's really great to connect with you. Tell them why I connected with them and say, hey, if you ever want to, let me know if I can ever assist you with anything. And then I'll leave it alone, come back a week or so later. And so I do a sales cadence in there. And then so I target very specific people for different things. For the women of color, so Black, Latina, Indigenous women in STEM, I invite them to a lot of events. For the business professionals that I'm trying to sell into a company, I will invite them to an executive roundtable to be on a LinkedIn Live, a pod that turns into a podcast, ta-da, or to speak to my audience in one way or another. But I go through it in a very succinct way. And so I utilize LinkedIn DMs. It goes down in the DMs. And sometimes people send me connection requests because they want to do business or they want to learn more about what we do here at Positive Hire. And so you want to have a very clean profile, very straight to the point, but you also want to utilize strategically the different features on LinkedIn in order to remind your connections what you do, as well as attract new connections to your profile and your business. So I'll pause there. It can get intricate, but it doesn't have to. I try to keep it simple.
I love that. And I love how you're using it. It's almost, it feels like a 360 strategy. Like it's, we get them on the list, but then we engage them here and then we re-engage and then we nurture. So it's really a well-rounded strategy, which I always like things that, work hard, work smarter instead of working harder. So I'm loving this. I might be encouraged to do what I'm supposed to do a little bit more. But before we wrap up, Women of Color in STEM Leadership Journeys Summit that is coming up, one of the events that you will be driving people to on LinkedIn. I'll be there as a speaker. Jeez.
Yeah.
Right. But I'd love to just let's kind of before we go out, tell us about that. Tell us how we can sign up and be part of that event and why we should be, even as entrepreneurs, we want to still learn about this women in STEM leadership.
So I have been hinting about utilizing LinkedIn to share your events. And so it was really important, or I found it's been very important to promote my Women of Color in STEM virtual summit. I've been hosting this virtual summit since 2017 before LinkedIn had events. I wish I had events back then. And this particular event this year, our focus is on STEM leadership journeys. And so we have women like Akila, who've been executives or worked with executive or leaders, women of color in STEM in leadership roles. And so we have a chief human resource officer who's also the executive coach that's coming in to speak and do a training. We have a communications expert because sometimes we are a little bit too analytical to, to really communicate the best. And so it's really is a more well-rounded way of us to share our leadership journeys in STEM. So if you are interested, this is where something that interests you, grab a pen and paper because this is a long URL. Is going to be in the actual show notes. But if you're like, I gotta go now, you want to go to bit.ly. So that's bit.ly / all lowercase letters because it's case sensitive, STEM, women leadership 24. So that's bit.ly / STEM Women Leadership 24. It goes down on February 22nd, starting at 10 a.m. Aquila is up early, and so we'll go into 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is different talks from 30-minute talks to 10 to 15-minute TEDx style talks to panel discussions that are a bit longer. And so come fireside chat. So we have different formats throughout the day. So you're like, oh, I got to jump in. Hey, that was a great 12-minute conversation. It was. And then you can go back to your work until the next speaker comes up that you want to join. Or you can join us the entire day. I would love to have you the entire day.
So I love that, and I'm excited to be a part of this year. And yes, I am a 10 a.m. is good for us moms who have the morning drop off. We're up, right? So it's good for me to morning get you to school, get me some coffee, and get into the summit, right? And so that's what I'll be doing on the 22nd. So thank you so much for coming on, for talking to us about LinkedIn Voices. For those who are listening, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Head on over to our SEO Growth Mob group on Facebook, and Michelle is in there too. So we will be chatting it up about more ways to use this, more ways that we can benefit from this and grow. And definitely join us for the summit. I've attended, this is my first year speaking, but I've attended for the last maybe 2, 3 summits. But I always walk away with nuggets in either how I can do things to enhance my company, outward facing and marketing wise and showing, getting up in front of other people, or also things that I can do within my company because you're also a leader, right? You're also a boss. You're also growing something. And honestly, as online businesses, we all got a little stem going on. So don't think the same for me. It is definitely for you. You are in the number. So make sure you grab that link, head on over, register, and we will all be there to come find some customers there too. Michelle just reminded me of that. So thank you. Some customers, because it's a community, right? There's people, there's going to be some room for networking and interaction. And like I said, I've always enjoyed attending the summit. I'm super excited to be part of it this year. And let's see if we can also get some LinkedIn top voices partaking, yes, and the money part of it all, right? Partaking it. So thank you, Michelle, for coming on. But before we end I just want to make sure you want to share any other ways people can find you. We know on LinkedIn, which will be in the show notes, but where else can people find you following this interview?
So I don't really be on the gram, definitely not on Twitter these days, but you can check out our website, Positive Hire. That's HIRE.co. So positivehire.co. Would definitely come over, check out the website, look at some blogs, podcast episodes that may interest you. But yeah, LinkedIn, the website, definitely come check us out.
Right. Thank you. Thank you again for being here. And I will see you guys in search.